Tony, there was more juice from the crowd from the start tonight. Does that make a difference?
I think when you're hydrated and you're, nourished, you can go a little harder and yell a little more. So I think that the concession stands opening up allowed the sugar rush, the caffeine burst, all that stuff. But no, the crowd was great tonight. It was good to see that. And, we started with a little sluggish. I thought we were a little out of sorts early. We had 4 turnovers before the media timeout. They got down the floor. And then from that point on, I thought we established some real quality basketball on both ends. And guys work. We knew before playing against Miami, like we said, teams like that, you're going to have to beat them. They're not going to lose. And so you're going to have to beat them. And you could see when we were just off a little bit or made a little breakdown, they could just create their own offense, whether it was McGusty, Wong, Moore, and others. So that they tested us, but I thought our guys stayed intent on what they needed to do, and certainly it was good. And yes, the crowd was a very good lift.
Yeah, Tony, the collective guard play you guys got tonight, Kihei, Reese, and Armand, is that about as good as it gets? How do you see it from your perspective?
I think collectively that was the best, in terms of how they were, and defensively, that was needed because of those guys, the way they can break you down. And then, again, offensively, you saw some really quality play with some of Reese slashing. You look at the 23 assists, Kihei making some big shots, and then settled down. Let me see, in the second half, he didn't have any turnovers. And then Armand really, him knocking down shots, getting us going. And then I thought that play at the end of the half was really good. But he was engaged. Armand defensively, he tipped a lot of balls. And again, all those guys had their hands full with their individual matchups. But then I thought there was decent help defense, or good help defense when needed. And, again, they missed some open shots early, and of course that helped.
Tony, for the first month, you talked a lot about the newness of this team kind of finding its way, and then we kind of stopped talking about it, but I guess it was still kind of there. Did it feel like tonight that maybe that's behind you and these guys have found kind of what they are?
I think we've slowly been improving, and sometimes in that improvement we've maybe had wobbled, taken a step back here or there, but slowly there's been improvement in terms of that. And the experience of more games and guys playing together, I think, has helped. But you're always chasing quality, chasing improvement. And, I think guys are a little more settled in and understand what it's going to take and how you have to play. Connect it like that on both ends, and even the intensity and the soundness that's needed. And they had I thought, against Boston College was a good game, and then certainly tonight they put together some quality stuff. So at times it shows, of course. We tightened our rotation, and I know it's always hard on those guys who don't play as much, but perhaps that has helped at least, and it doesn't mean you won't go a guy or two further into it, but for right now we're at our 7-man rotation.
Brad.
Tony, you mentioned feeling things were a little tighter, guys, kind of settling in. It seemed like it wasn't just, Armand here. It was, Cody had some good moments. It seems like everybody was sort of solid at the same time, which, over the course of the season, you've had different guys step up at different times, but to get the whole ship sort of pointing in the right direction, do you feel like you kind of turned a corner a little bit, or how do you feel about this team right now going forward?
No, I think you work, you show up at practice, you have a quality practice and work. And, each game is an opportunity to play and to see if you've improved and go after it. And but I'm not naive enough to think, oh, yeah, we got it. The second you think you've arrived, the saying, the defense never rests. You can never assume anything. You just got to keep working on your prep and your games. And, again, in this league, it appears, if you're right and you're ready, you're going to have a chance. Next game we got to, playing obviously the top of our league and just be as ready as we can and step into that one. And, never get too high, never get too low, and just see quality. And that's what I think these guys have bought into. And they're working, and they're connected in terms of how they play for each other. And it doesn't seem like there's any issues, even when we were struggling, like, oh, I need to get this or I need to get that. And I think that's a unified team.
Yeah, Tony, when you got Armand through the transfer portal, is this kind of what you had hoped for? I mean, not only the scoring, but also how aggressive he was defensively tonight on Dusty.
I thought, as I said, he did a very nice job guarding a very good offensive player, and all three of the perimeter guys did. But, I was really happy. And Armand, I said you don't have to worry about being defined if the shot's not going down. You impact the game in as many ways as possible, and then that'll come. You'll work at it. You'll bang shots, but don't let a poor shooting night or off affect your pursuit of how you want to defend, how you want to make plays. And like I said, real proud of him how he kept cutting hard, kept guarding hard, and he's gotten better and better. And of course, this was I thought a very fine performance from him, which I was grateful for him.
Obviously, it's a lot more fun to be winning by 15, but it seemed like the team just played with more freedom, more joy. Do you see more of that in practice leading into this game? And have you noticed any sort of just kind of that release or kind of feeling more comfortable that leads to, they just look like they were having fun today. And I don't know that was the case earlier this season.
Yeah, I mean, sure, when you win, but I think we try to make a conscientious effort, sorry, I can't say that, to have a spirit or an atmosphere of joy. We talk about that a lot. That's the greatest compliment that I ever get when people come and watch us practice. They say, yeah, you guys are serious, you're intense, and you go, but there's just a joyfulness about the guys. They enjoy each other. They play with joy. And it's challenged when you lose a couple games or things aren't going well, but that is that effort, or that you make a decision as a staff and say, no, we're gonna embrace this. Win or lose, we're going to love what we're doing, and we're going to love these guys and keep pursuing things. And I think that's where the perspective and the pillars of our program come in through the highs and the lows. So I'm glad you noticed it. And of course, yeah, it's easy when shots are going in and you're getting stops. That makes everyone joyful. But they did play with a freedom that was required, and hopefully you can keep doing that and continuing in that regard.
Okay, take one in the middle here and then back.
Hey, Tony. It seems every time after a timeout or break, you really were able to get UVA getting on a scoring run. How are you able to motivate your guys or get them fired up during those breaks to really get a lot of points on the board?
Yeah, there's just the guys did a good job executing coming out of timeouts, and just we saw a couple things and said, hey, here's an action we can run, or just run our base stuff. And we try to, you're always trying to see what can work, take advantage of certain situations, read what the defense is doing. And I thought out of today that helped us when rest a little bit, come out, and then didn't let Miami get into, I don't know what the closest they got once we got a lead, but I thought we answered whenever they made a run. We did a pretty good job with a stop or a score, and especially out of timeouts.
Zach, and then Jeff.
Coach, this is the first time you have back-to-back wins since early January. How important is it to build that momentum, especially going into Monday against Duke, but also make sure that you're not celebrating this win too much?
Yeah, I mean, look, we play on Monday, and you're going into, again, play one of the best teams in the country with probably the best talent or one of the most talented teams, and in that setting. So you get as ready as you can, and you approach it with joy, right? and you play as hard as you can, and for us, maybe our margin is big, but we have to be as sound and tough defensively, and you're going to have to take care of the ball and then play to win in those settings, because when you go against teams like Miami, like Duke, like mostly the rest of our schedule, you've got to beat those teams. They don't lose, and so that'll be the mindset. And again, we'll watch film and not, again, that's why you don't get too down when you lose, and you don't get too up when you win. You just keep approaching quality, and that's what we're trying to do.
Jeff.
Jaden seems to have figured out maybe what works for him in the ACC offensively and maybe what doesn't. What's the process, the learning curve been like for him since he got here offensively?
Yeah, I think he's getting better. Again, we use that. Sometimes guys that come into our program, even when they sit out a year and they transfer, and there's an adjustment when you start playing. And this is, I guess Trey did it, and Braxton did it, right? He didn't sit out. But usually the guys have that luxury of sitting out, so you're just learning on the fly. And I think he's understanding some more things defensively, and then finding, where are the spots, and we got to keep doing a good job trying to find those spots where he can get some looks and play the game. And again, it came together nicely today. But you never assume anything as far as not personnel, but just with approaching the next game. You just try to get ready.
Okay, we have time for two more quick ones. Mike and then
Tony, sorry, I know it's a post game, but going into Duke, first off, Cameron, and then Coach Krzyzewski working against him, coaching against him. Kind of what are your thoughts just on this? What's special about that matchup?
Well, I mean, Duke has shown their talent, and obviously Coach K's legacy and what that atmosphere is like. Who's played in that in our program? Did Kihei play in it? Yeah, he did. Kihei and then some of the other guys. So, that's just I would assume their concession stands are open, so they're probably going to be pretty rowdy. I would assume that's a fair assumption. But again, the way their athleticism, and I think the way they play defensively, and they're kind of the mix of their young superstars with some guys who've been in the program and how they're getting after it and improving, is you got to be right. You're going to have to be sound, not perfect, but you're going to have to be right. They do some things defensively that are challenging, and they got guys who can go get baskets. So, again, that's right now they're the best in our league. So to beat the best, you gotta play at a high level, and we understand that.
First free throws of the game were shot with 3 minutes left. Total of 3 free throws. You ever
I didn't. Wow.
been
I
around a
didn't
game
realize
like that?
Is that no? Didn't Armand?
That was it.
That was under 3. I'll be. Wow. Yeah, looking at that, I didn't. You know, it was in a way a clean game in terms of when you said the 23 assists and some of the pocket passes, and we drew people and did things. And we try, when you're playing, maybe Coach Larinaga might disagree, maybe thinks they got bumped at times, but we tried to play really good position defense and not allow them. And they took, 17 threes, and we were trying to really protect the lane, bother shots. And then with us, we used a little more ball movement and player movement that was working today. So, but that is, I don't know if I've been in a game quite like that. You're right.